I had so much survivor's guilt of me being alive that I decided to mix pills with a bottle of tequila because I wanted my life to end, because I felt so guilty for living, breathing, being alive. There's huge stigma on mental health. People are judged every day as a result of mental health. Our world is failing people left, right, and center.
Welcome, everyone. We're back with your boy and your co-host, KO, Kevo. All right, that's myself. On another amazing episode of the One Moment Podcast. Listen, I'll tell you what, we've come a long way. And I do have to say, this young lady makes our annual anniversary. Just so you know. We started last year on January the 8th. And she is here on January the 10th. She is our second person for the New Year's. And we got a lot. I told y'all we had a lot in store for 2026. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going to go. And now let me tell you a brief history about she and I. We've been playing appointment tag
Yes.
for, for about the last year, right? We would schedule, we have to reschedule, we figure out, okay, well, this time ain't going to work. Then finally, we were supposed to meet while I was in Seattle. Well, apparently I forgot that Seattle's not on East Coast time, so we had to cancel
Yeah.
that. It's just been a heck of a year trying to get this young lady out. And uh, what I know about her, I absolutely adore. My hat goes off to her. Nothing but love and respect. And she's got a lot to offer us. So, without further ado, Miss Ashley, how are you
I
doing?
think good, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on your platform to share my story. I commend you with what you're doing, and I have the uttermost respect for you.
Mm, thank you. Thank you. We sincerely do appreciate it. Yeah, mental health and substance use, suicide, prevention, suicide itself,
Mm.
all of that, anything related to those topics, to those areas, and a lot of stuff can be related, is not talked about. And there's a huge stigma, huge stigma.
Oh, there's huge stigma on mental health. People are judged every day as a result of mental health. And people don't have the patience, the knowledge, the education to come together and actually tackle mental health. And there's not enough resources, at least here in Canada, for mental health. There needs to be more resources and more structure around mental health. And there's just not. Our world is failing people left, right, and center.
And it's interesting because you would think that, I hear a lot of talk about how people want our healthcare system to be like Canada. And I'm curious because I know North Carolina is ranked number 1 as far as, like, absolute worst, okay? If 50 is you're the best, 1 is you're the absolute worst, and North Carolina is ranked 1, in the US as far as the worst healthcare system, including worst for mental health. So I'm curious, let's talk about that for a moment before we kinda get sidetracked into, and I say not sidetracked, but, when we, you know, before we veer off into the reason why you're here. And yeah, let's talk about some of those gaps, like what is needed.
There needs to be more resources, more communities coming together. Like, we're building all this unaffordable housing here in Canada, but we're not building more mental health resources. Instead, we're deciding that we're going to close them all down. But that's only causing a bigger issue. We're not looking at the big issue at hand. What needs to happen to these people? We're letting people out with hospital bracelets on their wrist, walking the streets that can't even take care of themselves, that don't even know how to cross the street, that aren't medicated. There's just not enough resources and places for mental health patients to go. There's not enough supports, even. There's not enough people saying, here, look, we're going to help this person. Our society is really failing on mental health. And our society is failing big time on many things, and that just happens to be one of the topics. The other thing that I will say that our society is failing on too is domestic violence. Huge. Domestic violence and mental health are my two things that I will continue to fight for because I feel like there's just no level of engagement there. There's no level of what are we doing to help these individuals?
No, absolutely. And I think, there needs to be an understanding because what I've experienced was this. Too many times to count. There's too many times that a domestic violence shelter will turn a person away just because they're actively using drugs, right? And it's like I get the fact that drug use and active drug use more so than actually history of substance use can be a concern. But what's more important? A life of domestic violence and the potential for death or substance use?
And I feel like a lot of these mental health patients too are being kind of judged, like
Yeah.
that there is this big drug issue. Some of them have schizophrenia, but aren't like properly medicated. So that's why they're out screaming on the street at themselves. That's why they're having conversations with themselves. But there's no follow through. There's no like, how are we going to get these people properly medicated? Yes, some of these people are homeless. Some of these people are drug addicts. However, if they don't have a job, how are they going to pay for their medication or get their medication to be on the path that they can be to somehow get a job down the line? Again, that's where community resources need to come into play. There needs to be some kind of like housing for these individuals. There has to be something that can be done, but nobody wants to take the time to do anything for mental health and domestic violence. I feel like when it comes down to domestic violence, it's the abuser that has all the power. For mental health, it's we just don't want to deal with it. We're just going to let these people keep falling short and short and short. There's no action. All there is talk, 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 but there's no action. There's no follow through. There's no plan.
Mm, that reminds me. I ain't trying to get political, but what you just said reminds me of a lot of these politicians.
Oh
All
yeah,
talk,
they're
no
empty
action.
promises.
Yep.
Like,
Broken.
I'm so sick and tired of it. I am just beyond tired of seeing all these people out on the street, and we're building, $1 million building. We're building all these things that we don't need. We're building a Princess Auto shop, or we're building all these stores and all this stuff that when are we going to focus on the problem at hand? When are we going to take them serious? When are we going to do something? People just talk the talk, but nobody wants to walk the walk.
Mm. No, I definitely can agree with that. I think there's a lot of stuff that really needs to be, I guess refocused on. Um, or I should say, yeah, I guess that's the word or the phrase I want to say, the phrase I want to use, but a lot of things need to be refocused on in the healthcare system. We have a broken healthcare system, and
Yep.
unfortunately, mental
Hmm.
health and substance use and suicide prevention, like everything mental health, right? Behavioral
Falls
health field
short. Yes.
is
Hmm.
the second cousin to the healthcare field.
Yeah.
If the healthcare system is broken, the behavioral health system is broken.
Yep.
There's no ands, ifs, or buts about
No.
it.
No. Or you're on this huge wait list and you're waiting forever to get any kind of mental health care. Like that's not okay. We're teaching people that, you know what, this is your problem, deal with it on your own, suck it up. That's what we're teaching people. And that's why people don't want to come forward and get the help that they need. We're
Mm,
not supporting our community. We're not building a community together. We're constantly dividing it up
no. So let me
when we should be coming together and figuring out what are the plans? What are the action plans? How are we going to move forward as a community and rebuild this community so people are safe and secure in their environment and are getting the proper medication, the proper help, the proper counseling. And when it comes down to domestic violence, like, again, that abuser has all the power and control. They tell domestic violence survivors, stop going to this restaurant, stop going here, stop going there. They're not the ones that cause domestic violence. The person that abused them should have the most consequences, but they don't. It's always the survivor of domestic violence that is left to deal with everything on their own. This is why survivors of domestic violence don't end up leaving. This is why some survivors of domestic violence have taken their lives into their own hands or have been killed by their abusers. Like, people don't get and see the bigger picture, the bigger problems. They don't address it. They address silly things like, let's tear up a road. Let's restructure this road, or, let's build places that people can't afford, instead of making more resources available to our community.
Mm, you said a lot there. So let me ask you this, okay?
Sure.
Because we're talking about domestic violence, we're talking about lack of resources, right? How has this area impacted you in your life?
This has impacted me huge. So I'll start off with on August 28th, 2016. I was a witness to a homicide, and I was forced to clean up a murder scene, which I did not want to. I was strangled. I was sexually assaulted. I was in that apartment for 2 hours. I ran down 18 flights of stairs to save my life. The individual that murdered the deceased was a guy that I was seeing at the time, and he murdered his best friend, pretty much his brother. And I found out more recently that, the person that committed this horrific act actually started hurting animals at a very young age, and had a really violent tendencies. And none of that was ever brought to my attention. I mean, this person that took somebody's life, he went to school for police foundations and criminology. He wore a very different mask and showed people a different image of himself. He was very much narcissistic, and he made himself out to be the poor victim. He After the trial happened, he wanted a retrial because he said, "Oh no, this was an accident." An accident is if you get in a car accident and accidentally kill somebody. This was not manslaughter. This was second-degree murder, which he was charged with. He was also charged with uttering threats towards me. He was also charged with bodily harm towards me. And, in 2 years, well, not even 2 years, technically, so this coming August, he will, not this August, but next August, so August of 2027, he will be up for day parole, which is sickening. In the States, you sell drugs, you're away for what, 10 plus years? Here, he got 14 years plus time already served. I strongly believe that if you take a life, that your life should be spent in jail for the rest of your life. You should not get a second chance to date. Right now, he is at a healing lodge, and he's Guatemalan. Why he's at a healing lodge, I have utterly no idea. Secondly, he is on a dating site, and I just think it's disgusting that this offender that committed these horrific acts, he gets his GED, he gets a job, he gets to make money while he's in jail. Again, it almost feels like the system caters to him and not the family of the deceased or myself. The justice system is very, very messed up. It has a lot of holes in it, and it needs to change. And this is why I do the podcast. This is why I have a book out. This is why I have my website, is because I strongly believe in fighting the fight. I strongly believe that change needs to happen because, again, this situation isn't just an Ashley situation. Being a witness or a survivor of murder, it is a worldwide epidemic, and something needs to change. Justice needs to happen, and our system is failing us left, right, and center. And because of what happened in 2016, I had so much survivor's guilt of me being alive that I decided to mix pills with a bottle of tequila because I wanted my life to end, because I felt so guilty for living, breathing, being alive because the deceased didn't get to live his life. So I felt like, why do I get another chance to live life? When the deceased, Nathan, he was kind hearted, he was caring, he would give the shirt off of his back for anybody. He had a heart of pure gold. And we remember him and we keep his legacy alive every day. We have something called the Nathan Urban Farm, which we grow vegetables and we give to homeless shelters who then turn around and give these meals to homeless people because that is the type of individual that Nathan was. He always put other people before himself. He would give the shirt off of his back for anybody. He was the most caring, loving, kind soul that you would ever meet. You could go up to him and have a conversation with him. He was friendly, he was outgoing, he was the life of the party.
And stuff like that can create or cause what we call as post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes, I
Acute
have
stress
complex
disorder.
PTSD, and
Yep.
I was surprised that I had it because at first when my doctor approached me about having this, I was like, "Oh, I don't have PTSD. That's something only war vets get." And they're like, "No, no, no, you have it." So I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and complex PTSD.
And when were you officially diagnosed?
In probably like September 2016, and then in October, right before Thanksgiving, is when I had my suicide attempt.
So, how long did you go? I'm curious to know how long did you go without treatment when all of that stuff happened to the
Oh,
attempt.
no, I was in treatment right away, like, I was sent to the hospital after I was strangled. They had to stick a camera up my nose to make sure that there was no horrific damage. I will tell you, it is the most unpleasant thing. They had to try 2 or 3 times to get the camera to go up my nose. And then St. Joe's stepped in, and their domestic violence team came in and spoke with me. And then right after that, my nurse practitioner found out everything, and I was seeing her like once a week pretty much after all this happened. And then my detectives were absolutely amazing, and they got me into the same counselor that I see now, which was amazing. And so now I'm seeing my counselor still to this day. I recently left another pretty bad relationship, and my counselor's helping me work through that now. So I'm really taking the time to rebuild myself and refocus on myself. I go to the gym, I get tattoos done. I take care of myself. I put myself first and as a priority. I think that self-care is vital. It's number one. It is never selfish because you can't begin to help other people until you help yourself, until you're fully healed. So seeing my nurse practitioner, going to counseling, going to the gym, those are all things that help me to be consistent with myself, to help me, rebuild my self-confidence, my self-worth, my self-esteem, etc.
So, you went into treatment there, immediately thereafter as far as, like, getting the help, getting the,
Yeah.
proper
Mhm,
help.
mhm. Oh, yeah. Like, it
So
wasn't an option. These detectives were so they were incredible, the experience that I had in 2016. They checked in all the time with me. I even had victim services at our police station. I was working with that person as well. I had so many tools in my toolbox. It was amazing. I even had a victim support person from the courthouse. That was amazing too. Like, I'm so grateful for all the support and all the people that came into making me the best version of myself that I could possibly be.
how long did you stay in treatment? Because that happened in 2016 into, I guess, the summer/fall?
I mean, I was never in like a treatment facility. I was more like I would check in with my nurse practitioner every week. I would have
Yeah.
check-ins. And then I was with my counselor. And I'm still with my counselor actually to this day. So my counselor has helped me immensely. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today without it. And I think that anyone that thinks that they can do it without counseling, I think you're so wrong. Like, yes, having your friends is great, but having somebody that doesn't know you is even better. Having a professional work with you is the best gift that you can ever give yourself.
Mm. No, 100%. And so, I'm glad that the reason I'm asking these questions is because I think it's important to realize that just because you go through something doesn't mean that treatment is a or recovery is a, one and done type of
Oh,
deal, right?
absolutely.
Like,
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that healing is ongoing. It's an everyday process. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It is what you do in that time that matters. It's getting up, it's going to the gym, it's going to that art class. It's focusing on you and doing what makes you shine again. It's taking that time to really dig deep and find out who you are through all this pain, through all this trauma, through all this heartache. You have to be willing to dig deep. And in order to have a healthy relationship with other people, the first relationship you need to have is the relationship that you have with yourself.
mm. No, what you just mentioned, I'm going to call her out on this one. We got a lady who's been on this podcast, been on our podcast a couple of times, Elisa, amazing young lady, and she's from the state of Florida, as I like to typically call it. Well, she said that the most important relationship that we're ever going to have is the one with ourselves,
Yes,
and most importantly, now here's the catch to that: it's the last relationship we're ever gonna have with
yes,
in life, right?
yes,
It's with
yes,
ourselves.
yes,
It's not with other
yes.
people, it's with us, and we have to take care of ourselves. We have to do self-care. There are many things that we have to do.
Oh, everything starts with us first and foremost, and everything ends with us first and
Mhm.
foremost.
No, 100%.
Like, what we do in our lives, we define us. We define us ourselves, not other people, not other people's judgment. We get to be the judge of ourselves. We get to decide how we're going to live our life, especially after horrific trauma.
Yep.
We either accept help or we decline help. And if we decline help, then we're likely to go into drugs and other horrific things. When I went through this trauma, the first thing detectives said to me wasn't what happened. They said, please make us a promise you won't turn to the streets for drugs, sex, prostitution, etc. And now when I look at people on the street, I think what horrific trauma did they go through to get to that point? Nobody just decides to stick a needle in their arm and get high. There's layers and layers of trauma that goes into that. And I think you getting help immediately and getting all the tools you need in your toolbox is the best thing you can do. When you prolong the help, you're asking for a very dangerous lifestyle.
No, 100%. So let me ask you this, just for educational purposes here, I know, but other people might not know, um, and when I say, like, I know, like, I got some ideas, and the general public might not know. So what do you feel like after this whole incident, what do you feel like some of the, I guess, the easiest stuff to work on? Okay, and I wanna ask a double question here because I want to, because if I don't ask a double question, I'm gonna forget. Uh, and what do you feel like was your primary or some of your main struggles after all of this?
Oh, that's easy. Survivor guilt. I had immense survivor guilt. I blame myself that, maybe there was something I could do. Maybe if I replayed the situation over and over again in my head. I went through all the what ifs, all the woulda, coulda, shouldas. I felt this tremendous guilt for being alive. And that was the constant struggle that I had, that I placed all this blame on me. And I really had to work through that and understand that I can't go back in time. I can't fix things. I can't change people. I can't get inside people's head. All I can do is work on myself and do what I can for me in order for me to move forward. In order for me to bring justice to this case, I had to be at my best. So that's when I really dove into, like, going into counseling, going to see my nurse practitioner weekly, going back to the gym was my saving grace. Like, the gym helped me immensely. And during COVID is when I wrote my book, Finding Strength Through Tragedy. And it's funny because I came up with the title before I came up with anything else. I knew that strength had to be in the title because I really truly believe that through all kinds of pain comes strength. I'm a big believer in that. This horrific incident happened. Yes. Was it horrible and awful? Yes. Can I change it? No, I don't have the power to change it, but I can figure out ways that I can give back and keep moving forward. And now all the proceeds from my book go to victim services here at the police station where they buy gift cards for survivors of abuse, survivors of domestic violence, etc. I'm all about community and I'm all about giving back and helping other people because like I said before in this podcast, this isn't just an Ashley situation. There's survivors of crime each and every day, nationwide, countrywide. And so if I can help at least one person in this life, then I've done what I've set out to do.
And that is key. And I think a lot of people forget, we're here for one another, right? Like we are social creatures by nature.
Mhm.
And part of being a social creature is our need to help take care of one another.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this then, because you have this. He's coming up for parole, right?
In 2027, yeah.
Okay,
So not this August, but next August, yeah.
right. So what is your dealing with all of this and
Mhm.
dealing with the situation where it's with everything that's going on, what do you feel like is some of your immediate steps that you need to work on or that you're maybe currently working on if you want to share some of that?
Yeah. The steps that I'm taking is I write my blogs, I do my videos, I do my podcast. I'm doing things that bring awareness, that bring attention to the issues of mental health to the survivors of crime. I just try to take step forwards and do the best that I can and be that teaching tool to other people. I want other people to look at me and be like, I can relate to what she's saying. I can relate to what she's going through. I've experienced, like, my book wasn't statistics and facts. My book was like a journal entry. It was like, how can I relate my story to other people so I can be that teaching tool for somebody else. So I can let somebody else know that possibilities are endless, that your life doesn't stop at your trauma. Your trauma doesn't define you. You can define your trauma.
What you just said makes me think. And I was trying to figure out how to word it because my brain went in like five different directions here. um, what you are saying though, and I think that's important for people to understand that just because you have a traumatic experience, right, in life, just because you have a situation that happens that you feel overwhelmed by, that maybe you feel compelled or driven by, right? It doesn't mean that we are unchangeable, right? And unadaptable creatures. No, no, no. We are able to adapt. We're able to change. We're able to,
Agreed.
right. And it starts with us, as
It
you said
does.
earlier.
Mhm.
So, what do you feel like was something that, well, before I go there, I want to ask about being re-triggered with this situation that happened and what you were just saying. Uh, do you feel like you are being re-triggered at all? And I asked this, let me preface this, right? Because a lot of people who go through trauma, especially if they don't know what's going on, this what we call triggers, right? I'm being re-triggered. This happens. Oh my gosh, I'm having a flashback. I'm being reminded all of these things, right? And so that's why I'm asking is
And
education.
there's right. There's still definitely flashbacks. I mean, it's never gonna go away. Like, I can tell you what happened from moment to moment in that apartment. Like, that's never gonna be erased in my head. However, it's about moving forward and taking the steps that I need so I can be successful in this. And what I mean by that is so I don't go downhill. I want to continue to rise up. And I'm not going to let somebody that did something horrific bring me down. I'm going to keep fighting for justice. I hope that he stays in jail, but I know based on our system that he's most likely going to get day parole. Like, there are so many offenders that get let out again and again. And that's why there's so much crime happening here in Canada because we just let offenders out. We let them repeat because they have this thing where they go in the system and, oh, they found God and, they're getting their GD. They're making themselves look like the patron saint while they're in jail. But really and truly, that's just a mask that they have on. They're performing another show. So know that I have to stay strong, not only for me, but I have to stay strong for the family of the deceased. Is there going to be retriggers? Probably. But then that's what counseling's for. That's what all the tools are for my toolbox. That's what going to the gym is about. That's what going and checking in with my nurse practitioner is all about. It's finding things that create the strength, not finding things that create the pain.
Thank you for that.
You're
Because
welcome.
it is about being proactive, as you were just
It
saying.
is. Yep, absolutely.
And I think that's a huge, uh, that is something that is huge and critical to really underline here, right? That, yeah, we've been
Mhm.
talking about a lot of stuff from trauma to, you're sharing your situation to gaps in the healthcare system, right? But it's being proactive
Correct.
and using the resources that you do have at the same time.
Agreed. I strongly believe that.
So all of that happened in 2016.
Mhm.
Fast forward to 2025, 11 years later, what do you do at this moment to help you, uh, deal with or cope with what happened? And what has the journey been like since then?
The journey's been absolutely like a roller coaster of emotions, but it has, you know, really got me to the best version of myself that I can be. Um, I love that I have my website. I have my own YouTube page. I just feel like I've been given so many great opportunities, and I'm incredibly grateful and I'm incredibly humble that people believe in me enough to give me these platforms. Like, you having me on your podcast is a platform that I'm grateful for. The deceased's family actually is the one behind my website. I still touch in with them on a regular basis, and they've helped put my website together. They believe in me immensely, and I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that I have been given. These podcasts are a great way for it's actually self-care for me, believe it or not. Sharing my story and knowing that it might just help somebody else who's going through a hard time. I think just being in the moment and continuously going on and finding the things that are inspirational to me is what helps me move forward in life.
So, one of the things that I was saying though is I'm glad that you shared that because even though that we're going through things, right, it doesn't mean that we can't think about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 6 years from now, even 6 months from now. Yes, we plan for the future, right? But it is critical that we also live in today and be mindful and be in the moment, right?
Yes,
I think that is
I so believe in being in the moment. I think that's the best thing we can do for ourselves.
absolutely, absolutely. So let me ask you this because a lot of people think that EMDR is the gold standard for trauma, and I'm not saying it's not the gold standard. I'm not. You have so many more therapeutic modalities with EMDR, right? Or including EMDR. What type of therapeutic modalities did you go through to help you, I guess, start putting the pieces back together?
The gym saved my life
The
100%.
gym saved your life.
Working out is like not just from like a healthy standard, but it's also mental. Like the mental capacity of working out is great. Like every day I'm constantly challenging myself and moving up my weights. I am me versus me at the gym. It is my safe spot. It is my comfort zone. It is my home away from home. That is the best medicine that I could possibly give myself is the gym. I don't go with it, work out with anybody else. I focus strictly on I put my earphones in, listen to my music, and I just go at it. It is the best life-saving thing for myself. I cannot tell it, and everybody's different. Other people might be like, the gym didn't work for me, but this art class that I took was amazing therapy. Or, this music class that I took was great therapy. Everybody's going to have a different experience, but mine was the gym. The gym saved my life 110%.
I was about to start talking and I realized I was still muted, so I had to. um, do you still go to the gym?
Every day,
It's awesome. That was
the gym
awesome.
is what saved my life and it continues to save my life. I will never give up the gym. Never. That is my home away from home. That is my comfort. That is my life. That's my world. That's my escape from everything.
Now I want to backtrack, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And folks, let me do say this. I'm gonna be asking about something that happened shortly thereafter. So if you were triggered by anything that I'm fixing to ask, and that we're fixing to talk about a little bit, please seek help immediately if you're in Canada or the United States or even in our hemisphere at all. South America, Central America, you have 911 and 988. That is the 911 is the of course the emergency number. 988 is the National Crisis and Suicide Hotline. Um, please use them. You can also use the local emergency department and or a local crisis center. If you're in therapy, use your therapist, use your psychiatrist, use whatever resources you need that is at your disposal. Now that I've got that out the way, your suicide attempt. My first question is, was it impulse or planned?
Oh, it was Thanksgiving weekends. It was 110% planned for me. I wanted to die. Like I did
I didn't feel purpose. I didn't feel anything. And looking back on that, I'm like, how could I? When I was like the number one witness for trial, like that would have been really difficult on the person that is deceased, their family, not to get that justice. I was the lead in that justice. So now I look at it and think to myself, that was a really silly choice to make at that time. But my brain wasn't thinking like that at that time. My brain was thinking, this is all too much. This is all too overwhelming. It'd just be easier to end it. But now looking back on that, I'm glad I'm still here. I'm glad I'm still alive. I'm glad I'm making strides in my life. I'm glad that I've turned pain into strength now. Now I see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I did not before. I was so dark. But now I see the peace, the calm after the storm.
Educational question here for the public. When you had that attempt,
Mhm.
did you go to a inpatient unit at all? Like, what
No,
was some of
no,
your
nope. I went and saw my nurse practitioner. I went to counseling. I just dove into my toolbox, back to the gym, really just really focused on me, focused on my relationships. I did a deep dive into my relationships. I cut out people in my life that were being non-supportive at that time. And I made my family and I turned it into what it is today. And I'm proud of every person that I have in my life. I have an amazing life. I have an amazing support system. I couldn't be more grateful. I could not.
and when we think about growth, what are some of your primary tools? And when we talk about the toolbox, what are some of your primary tools that you use, not including the gym? And the reason I ask is because, maybe somebody who was listening or watching this is struggling with something and they need tools, they need resources to utilize.
Counseling is big. Checking in with my nurse practitioner, big one. Um, doing my podcast, writing out my blogs, like doing journal entry type things, like that's the stuff that really, really helps with the growth. Really helps, put my feelings down and really makes me aware. And having positive, loving, inspirational, trustworthy relationships is everything. Your relationships that you have will either make you or break you in this life. So you really have to figure out who is in your corner and who's not. And you know what? I hate this thing where people think that family is, yes, family is important, but family is not defined by blood. It's what you make it to be. If you have people that are bringing you down, you need to cut ties. You only want people that are going to build you up, especially while you're on that trauma roller coaster.
Beautifully said. I am a huge proponent that family is not always blood.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more.
And no, 100%. One of my favorite movies or what have you is Fast and the Furious. Not because of the action, because I think in the last one or the one before last, he took them to outer space, and I'm like, y'all really overdid it. But that's my personal opinion. But if you look at the concept, family, it's always about family, right? Surrounding the
Sure.
ideal of family. And I think they hit it on the head when, you know, there was one of the scenes, one of my favorite scenes, Vin Diesel's, they're all kind of in the thing. I think it's when they're about to go down to Mexico or somewhere down in Brazil or somewhere, I don't remember. Uh, but Vin Diesel said, you know, the most important people is always going to, or the most important thing is always going to be the people in this room.
I agree.
And it's not, neither one of them are blood kin in the movie at all, except for, a couple of them. I think Vin Diesel and Mia were, according to the theatrics of it was, family. But outside of that, nobody else was blood kin.
No, I completely agree. Family is everything you make it to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've always said that, and this is my encouragement, anybody who's watching or listening to us, yes, I know that we are asking questions, and we're talking about many different things right now. And there's so many things that I can ask and carry on and go in any direction
For
here.
sure.
But and trust me, this is not her first and only showing on this podcast by any means, because there's so much that we can unpack. I'm trying to get some general ideas here for people, because there's a lot of stigma around things. There's a lot of misconceptions and myth, and
Agree.
so right, and so your family and relationships are some of the most important things to recovery, and
Agree.
recovery can be
100%.
absolutely recovery is anything. Recovery from drugs, recovery from trauma, recovery from OCD, recovery from surgery, recovery from add to that list.
Yeah, no, like recovering from anything in life is you need positive, inspirational people in your corner. You know, rather you're recovering from drugs, alcohol, mental health. It's so vital and it's so important to have people that are going to just be your support, that are just going to be that listening ear, that aren't going to judge you, that aren't going to ridicule you. You don't want to be bullied while you're going down a really dark path. You want to have light at at the end of the tunnel, and that light is the people that are in your corner. That's the light that you're going to have. You know, we can't choose our family, but we can choose the people we have in our lives.
I love it. I love it. And
Thank you.
the people around us is what, like you said earlier, is what make us or break us.
It will for sure, 110%. Like
Mm,
having people that are going to love us unconditionally through a time of hardship and challenges is everything.
right. I've always said this, you know, I've got a friend of mine who is in San Antonio.
Mhm,
Mm, I'm not going to say anything at this point in time as far as like however, we're currently working on. We'll find out next week if what I'm working on is, uh, is approved. And so we were, talking. Well, the first time I ever, well, some of the first conversations I ever met or that I had with her,
mhm,
he was asking for help on doing something, and I said, "Oh, yeah, that's fine. Not the issue. Whatever." She was like, "Well, what are you going to charge me?" And I'm like, "Well, so you're asking for a $3,000 to $5,000 job. Like, some people going to charge you 1,000, some people going to charge you 2,000, but I'm telling you, average quality is going to be 3 to 5 grand
mhm,
plus." And she was like, "Well, how much are you going to charge me?" I sat back and thought about it, and I said, and I pulled it, uh, uh, um, Paul Walker, right? A Paul Walker line from Vin Diesel. I mean, from the Fast and Furious line, right? And I said, "Listen," I said, "My bill to you is going to be nothing but love and respect. That's it." Everybody started laughing at me, right? Similar to what happened in the movie, and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Like y'all think I'm being for real? Like y'all think I'm, you know, playing here?" I'm like, "No, something money can't buy."
for sure. Without a doubt.
100%. And so we were having a conversation a couple weeks ago, and and she literally asked me. She was like, "Well, I want." I sent her a video, and I'm like, we were talking and joking. I'm like, "Man, the way this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah." So we were conversing back and forth, and I said this conversation got brought up again, not on a different topic. I said, "Listen," I said, "My charge is the same thing. Just love and respect. I don't want no accolades. I don't want no praises. I don't want none of that. I don't
Mhm.
need it and don't want it."
No.
Your love and respect is the most important thing. If I
And
got those 2 things, I got the whole world in the palm of my hand.
Agreed. Agreed.
I mean, you can take everything from me, but there's 2 things you can't take. My relationship with my creator, whoever that might be, and the quality of my relationships.
For sure.
Yep. So listen, let me ask you this then. We're coming down to the end of the wire. All right. I would like to know. I have 3 questions for you. My first question is, if people want to ask you to come on their podcast, book you, mm, interview you, maybe have you as a mentor, have you as a coach, what have you, maybe even reach out, ask some questions. Maybe they're going through the same thing or similar thing that you went through.
Right.
How can they contact you?
Ashley_16@outlook.com.
Okay. And what's your name?
Or through TikTok, which is Ashley Inspire, or through my Facebook page, Finding Strength Through Tragedy, or through my other Facebook page, ashleyinspires.ca.
What is one thing you hope people will take away from watching or listening to this?
To be a teaching tool, a teaching lesson to somebody else, for somebody else to look at me and say, because of you, I didn't give up. That is my mission in life, is to be that inspiration of hope, that inspiration that, you know what, life can go on. You can move forward. I want every person to know that they're a warrior, that they're courageous, that they're brave, that they're inspirational. Those are the things I want people to take away from it, is believing in themselves. Because once you believe in yourself, it's key for many possibilities in life. Possibilities are endless, and believing is key.
You said a mouthful. Most important question. You ready for it?
Yes.
What is your call to action for people?
My call for action
Yep.
is literally being a voice and being an advocate and fighting day in and day out for what I believe in for other people. Like, I am constantly in a fight for change. I want change for domestic violence survivors. I want change for mental health. I believing in voicing my opinion as much as I can. You know, I'm actually friends with the he's pretty much like one of the mayors here in where I am, and he's been an amazing inspiration. He's our member of parliament as well. And he is phenomenal at what he does. And I have reached out to him many times, and we've sat down together. We have talk, and I really hope that together we can make some big changes. He's brought some of my ideas to some of his meetings, and trying to implement different changes in our mental health and our justice system, because it is so weak. And I believe in speaking up and raising as much awareness as I possibly can, because I believe that no change doesn't happen overnight. That change is something we have to constantly fight for day in and day out. It is never ending.
That was a lot, and I could not have said it any more beautiful what you ended it on.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for your amazing platform. Like, you should be proud of yourself for doing what you're doing. You're giving people the opportunity to speak up and stand up. So thank you so much for the bottom of my heart.
You are absolutely welcome. And although you're giving me a praise, I am learning myself to accept compliments. So, no, seriously, folks, listen, you heard it here on the One Moment podcast. First and clearly, and most importantly, that people go through things, but growth and change are inevitable and can happen. So please utilize your resources. Primary care provider, therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, local hospitals, crisis units, uh, doesn't matter. Law enforcement, what have you. There's resources. And potentially, unfortunately, well, not potentially, but unfortunately, in some areas have more resources than others.
Agreed.
And that is okay at this moment. But we are also a resource. So, and she has a podcast too, which I'm about to ask her about. So utilize your resources. Like and follow us on social media. We're across 40 something platforms. Last time I calculated 42, I think, or 43. About to expand that out to close to 50. So this is one resource for you. And I'm going to let her finish it out with the last resource. Name of your podcast. Where can it be found?
I don't have my own podcast, but I have my own page. So ashleyinspires.ca. Please visit my website to find all my blogs. Also, I have my YouTube channel, Ashley Inspires. So please follow. I have my TikTok, Ashley Inspires, or Ashley Inspire, sorry, without the S. And then I have my Facebook group called Finding Strength Through Tragedy and my Facebook page, Ashley Inspires. So thank you from the bottom of my heart again for all that you're doing. You're doing a beautiful job.
Thank you, ma'am. Hey, listen, folks, we appreciate it. Now we are about to end the live because I know she's late where she is and it's late where I am. And all of this is going to be edited out. The live version is going to stay up on YouTube, Twitch, X, LinkedIn, Facebook. Live is going to stay up there. So I've really enjoyed it. Thank you again, Ms. Ash. I sincerely and humbly do appreciate it. With that being said, let's end the live. Okay. Everybody, y'all have a wonderful night or morning or evening whenever y'all watch this. Thank you.